Hey there, I'm Tia Brown, and I'll be talking with you today about gizmos. Have you ever seen a Van de Graaff generator? It's that device for making lots of static electricity. Charged particles like to find opposite charges as partners and run away from particles with the same charge, so they make your hair stand up when they run away. In this gizmo, we can launch charged particles across the grid to see how they behave. We can even add charged particles to influence the path of the moving particles, and launch speeds can be changed as well. Let's click Launch and view what happens. This particle traveled in a perfectly straight line. But what if there were other charged particles on the grid? How do you think that will affect the path? To test this, we'll drag some particles onto the grid. Blue particles are negatively charged and red ones are positive. Now let's click Launch. Looks like the negative charge affected the path of the positive charge. We can even add more particles to the grid. Now there are both positively and negatively charged particles on the grid. What path do you think the red particle will follow this time? Let's launch and see. Looks like the positive charge went even further away from the positive charges on the grid. We can also launch blue negative charges to see how they affect the path of the particle. Wow, look how much the path was affected by launching a blue negative particle. Now let's change the speed of the launch particle. Once we have the hang of it, we can even try a challenge. Can you launch a charge that will perfectly follow that path? It's trickier than it seems. Every gizmo has a set of lesson materials to help you plan your lesson. I'm going to share a few tips with you from these materials, and maybe a couple of my own as well. Before beginning the gizmo, you can use the Test Magnets warm-up activity found in the User-Created Lesson Materials section. In this activity, students will play with magnets and determine what is happening between the two poles. After doing the gizmo, you can ask your students to write a paragraph describing what happened with the magnet, using the vocabulary sheet from the lesson materials as a guide. I use Activity A in the Student Exploration sheet to ensure my students understand how particles behave. Students can work on the questions in pairs and then share the answers as a whole class activity. Another idea is to use Activity B in the Student Exploration sheet as a guide to check for understanding. You can assign groups of 2 to 4 students a challenge like number 4 in Activity B. Students can use other tools within the gizmo like screenshots, taking pictures of each step they complete to get to their answers. If you like that gizmo, continue the fun with the magnetism and circuit builder gizmos. Thanks for hanging out and learning a little about charged particles. See you later, Gizmos fans.